Hello, Heatseekers. It's the Heat Sheet. Hello, Heatseekers. Welcome back to the Heat Sheet. Just like Green Day asked to wake them up when September ends, October begins and the Heat Sheet comes back just as you want to be turning on your heating. We are back here Thursday night recording on Riverside, which is proving difficult for our main man Lewis McNaughton to join us. But after a summer's hiatus, we are back as the dark nights draw in to give you the very latest news, gossip, shenanigans, everything like that from the world of wrestling in our tabloid newspaper format, as always. Now, joining me on the Heat Sheet this week, we were hoping for Lewis to join us, but apparently Riverside FM does not work in Dundee on a Thursday night anymore. So it's a two-man booth this evening between myself and the inimitable Steve Striker, Stephen Loach. Steve, how the heck are you?
I'm very well, mate. It's been a very chilled out summer for me. Just kind of trying to catch up with all the wrestling again. It's been enjoyable, but there's been a lot going on at the same time as we'll get to, and I'm hoping the fall will be just as exciting, which I think it will be, because there's a lot going on and a lot still to happen.
The fall? Don't you mean autumn, Steve? It's autumn.
I know, but I think because I think that's the WCWization of my era because of Fall Brawl and all that.
Fall Brawl, yeah. There's not. What would you get? Autumn Tantrum? Would that be like
Tantrum?
The
aye.
Autumn Tantrum, yeah.
Or
there's
the Winter War.
The Winter War. Autumn Tantrum. There's got to be some like carny and indie show that's trying to use that. And if there isn't, and you want to use it, you can credit us for making it up.
Yeah.
Now, we are going to be breaking down the last week or last few days in wrestling in the usual way we do it here in the Heat Sheet. We're going to look at what should be making the front page with the most newsworthy events, the back page with the best in-ring of the period. We're also going to look at page 3 for the biggest gossip that's going around in the world of wrestling. And we're also going to do the telly pages where we recommend something to watch that's wrestling related, but not necessarily wrestling. And if we do get a good run of these podcasts, I do intend on getting a t-shirt with that catchphrase made on it, just as long as it's not one of these places that you need to pay by the letter. Like if you were getting, vinegar of Hesselink in the back of your Celtic top back in the day. So
that cost me a fucking fortune.
I'm surprised there's enough material on the back of a football top to fit all of that in.
Well, there was a legend at the time that it got so ridiculous that Celtic actually ran out of like the letter ink, particularly of like V, because like, there wasn't actually many players with a V in their name, but just him. So they had no V's left. Or I think if you were smart, you just shortened it to VOH.
Well, see, that's probably what it would be these days, I would say. VOH.
Which Big Jan.
Big Jan, aye. Again, two very probable indie wrestler nicknames as well there. From across Europe. Just try to bring that back to wrestling, I suppose. But it has been a long time since we've spoken about wrestling, Steve. So before we dive in to breaking down the past week's headlines, what's been your wrestling highlight since we were last on?
Well, what was our last one? We did the all in review, didn't we?
Did we? We did an all in preview, I think.
But
possibly.
No, we did the Melter ratings.
Yes, we did the Melter ratings. Yeah.
So I think since then you had the follow up, which was All Out, where you had the Moxley heel turn on Danielson.
Yes,
with the attempted murder, and you also had finally the climax of the Hangman Swerve feud where they nearly murdered each other.
Yes.
In the steel
how
cage.
Could I forget that? How could I forget looking back at that? Because it was very much the yin and yang way, all in and all out. You had all the stuff to send the people home happy from Wembley. And then Chicago was just an absolute murder scene.
Yeah, and on the WWE side, what's happened? You did. I remember the Bull Ropes match with Punk and Drew was a bit weird. It was a bit
Yeah.
tame, given the. I remember being a bit disappointed for that. I guess it's all right, given it was the in betweener match.
Oh, it
Speaking of
looks
which,
like
is the man.
we're maybe getting a bit of a run in here.
Aye, we're having a run in here. We've got the Seth Rollins treatment here.
Who's getting curb stomped? Who's getting curb stomped? Are you there, Lewis? Can you hear us there in deepest, darkest Dundee?
We know it's still 1983 there.
That would suggest no. That silence
No.
there. But we will continue anyway as we start to break things down. Now we're going to hit the headlines first on the front page. So, Steve, what has been the biggest news story of the past week in wrestling that you think should grace the front page of this week's heat sheet?
I would have to go with the big announcement AEW made just last night, where they've re-signed with Warner Brothers Discovery, making sure that Dynamite and Collision remain on both TNT and TBS for this foreseeable future. I believe it's 5 years and it's worth 185 million per year. But on top of that, they are also now moving on to the Max streaming service in the US, which makes logical sense because with Raw moving over to Netflix, I think AEW has to keep with the times, and I think they have to move on to one of the giant streaming platforms. I know Max isn't quite as big as Netflix, but it's still one of the bigger streaming services, so it's a big win for them in that regard. I think it's a great achievement because we were all a bit nervous as to if the deal was going to be renewed because ratings haven't been great. I believe with TNT losing the NBA contract, I think that swung things in AEW's favour because it meant TNT needed to keep a hold of one of the big weekly shows in order to kind of keep things cooking on their side.
Yeah, it's a massive plus point for AEW, and you say congratulations to Tony Khan for securing that deal. As you said there, although the product is not as hot as it was, maybe 18 months, 2 years ago, and crowds are certainly nowhere near as big as what they were. Warner Brothers obviously see the merit in having it, and by investing so heavily in AEW, keeping it on primetime television for the next 5 or so years is an amazing achievement for them. And there's been a lot of people on social media kind of eating a bit of humble pie over the last 24 hours since that was announced. The ones that said that they weren't going to get an extended TV deal, that they're absolutely in the mud, they're going to go out of business. I mean, I don't think they were ever in danger of going out of business. I don't think Tony Khan would put them into administration or do anything like that or end it. He doesn't really need the money from the TV channels. He just needs the exposure. But the fact that he's still getting the TV deal, he's getting the money from the network for that. And I think one of the important things that is a big, big boon for North American viewers is that allegedly on HBO Max, the back catalogue is going on there as well.
Yeah.
So essentially, they're doing what Peacock have done with the WWE Network, and they're going to have the last 5 years worth of all elite wrestling content on there, which is class, absolutely class. And it's going to be simulcast, I believe, as well. So it's not just going to be on TNT and TBS, but it will be simulcast live on the Max platform over there.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing as well, because younger guys, say 30 and under, majority of them have low incomes, so they can't really afford cable packages, but they can afford something like Max, which is only £10 a month. So that's a huge gain as well. I think it's great as well because getting on Max is a huge thing, because you've got to remember Warner Brothers, they've got the rights to all the big HBO shows, so Sopranos, Game of Thrones, etc., also on top of that, Harry Potter, all the big DC comics characters, so all the Batman and Superman films are all in there as well. So like a casual guy who's into like comic books and stuff like that, maybe he's wanting to fire up Max one time to do his annual rewatch of The Dark Knight, but he also at that time has seen something called AEW wrestling advertised. Like, oh, a wrestling thing, maybe I'll give that a go. So it's a good doorway to maybe attract some new fans.
Yep, and we know that over the last 5 years of watching AEW, they love a tie-in as well. So the fact that they're now affiliated with Warner Brothers,
There was
you know,
even
the DC stuff is a shoe-in for being promoted on the shows.
Because in the past, Rick and Morty as well, they've done crossovers with them as well. That's also with the on the Max platform as well.
Yep, so it's a good time to be an AEW fan, and I think it was rather fitting that this new deal was announced the same day that they celebrated the 5th anniversary of AEW Dynamite and its television deal. Certainly, and again, across social media and various other places, I've seen people, extolling how much of an impact All Elite Wrestling has had on their wrestling fandom, whatever the word is. Since it came into fruition, it was a proper rival to WWE. They've even acknowledged that in the Vince McMahon documentary that the increase in quality since Vince McMahon stepped down is in part due to the fact that there's a viable competition for them that they've not had since WCW was about. So it's been a real shot in the arm, and I need to say, I feel exactly the same. I've been a far more avid AEW watcher over the last 5 years than I had been WWE in the maybe the 10 that preceded it. It definitely ignited my passion for wrestling a wee bit more. That all kind of sort of peaked when Punk came in, and sort of dwindled when he left, if I'm being honest, because I have found this last year to be a bit of a slog to enjoy as much wrestling as I was previously. But certainly the fact that Dynamite exists in the UK here, it's readily available on Thriller, or if you can avoid the spoilers, it's on ITV4, so it's quite easy to watch. And it's been a great ride so far. I mean, like any TV show, it suffers from peaks and troughs in quality, but the in-ring for me is the thing that's kept me watching it over WWE. There's matches that I've loved. I've loved the whole Danielson run. I've loved seeing the evolution of MJF, as I mentioned. The first dance. Although I know that was on Rampage, but the first dance was genuine goosebump hairs in the arm standing up stuff for me, seeing Punk come back that way. And even, just like watching the weekly rise through the ranks of your Darby Allins, Orange Cassidy, guys like that, the originals, Hangman's arc over the full 5 years has been amazing. Creating proper television characters, and the fact
Sting's debut was one for me.
Sting as well, yeah.
It's like
the fact that they have been able to create these characters from scratch on television is probably one of the main reasons why they've managed to secure this new deal.
And a great one as well is Christian Cage. I mean, who'd have thought that in the mid-2020s Christian Cage would be back wrestling full time and he'd be one of the most entertaining guys in wrestling again? Like, it felt like 5 years ago he was just like this kind of irrelevance. I mean, I know he was retired anyway, but who in their right mind would have thought he would have made a comeback in a mainstream wrestling show and be one of the most talked about and over guys in wrestling? And Chris, my God, look at Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah,
I mean, it blows my mind that we're in 2024 and one of the most put over guys in live wrestling right now is Jeff Jarrett. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been class, and I think we're getting joined by Lewis here. Lewis, how's things with you, mate? Yes, we can. That's
on this video. Look like a.
It's 1980s quality, but
anytime I put my new mic or my new fucking hang on, it just crashes. It says my phone wasn't working, but Yeah, but I've only had, 3 months to get a fucking good connection to the last podcast, something like that.
I know. I'm really happy. In the week that Philip Schofield Castaway has been on the telly, it's great to see that you're back in the broom cupboard for the heat sheets to turn there. But yeah,
He's in a remote island. You still can't
Yeah,
get his
mere
bloody
chance to
cupboard.
get odd than that.
Lewis McNaughton, Castaway, and Broughty Ferry. So, Lewis, we were just talking there. We were hitting Steve's front page headline there in regards to AEW getting the new television deal. What's your feelings been on All Elite Wrestling for the last 5 years?
I
know you're a regular Fed head.
I went to All In, so I've got to back up my reasoning for having a fucking seat there. But obviously it was it came as this massive boom. Obviously the indie scene, it came off the indie scene being as hot as it was in 2017. There was too much talent for the indies. That's why AEW came about, and Cody and the Bucks and everyone recognised that. And it is hard because they're coming up against WWE, which isn't even really a wrestling show anymore. It's just a massive multimedia billion-dollar company, which is never going to be replicated by anything. So I think they have had, obviously, their high moments, they've had their low moments, they've had their moments where they look like a top company, but they just need to steer clear of trying to be a competitor in any way and just put on a show that everyone will like. Work with what you've got as well. Don't try and sell out Wembley. Don't try and sell out these massive stadiums in Texas. Just, if Tony Khan's as big a fan as he says he is, and the wrestling fan as much as a businessman he is, then he just needs to know where he's going with it and know how far he can go and just stick it where it is. But yeah, it's definitely improved wrestling a million times. It's so much more enjoyable now. It's pushed WWE to be the best it's been in years, and without this, we'd still be living in the Brock Lesnar era of coming out, and fucking Vince McMahon's secrets probably would be still locked in the closet. It wouldn't be as scrutinised. It wouldn't be as pushed to be as good as it is. So yeah, whether you like it, whether you hate it, it's been good for the wrestling world, and for that you can only say thanks to Tony Khan.
Yep, definitely on board with that. So yeah, that's our first gambit there from Steve for the front page of this week's heat sheet. Lewis, in your opinion, what should be going on the front page as the biggest wrestling news story of the week?
It wasn't as vocal. It wasn't as all over the front page of your Twitter or anything. But it was a small clip in the. I don't know if it was the Pat McAfee show or whatever it was Cody Rhodes was on, or it was just something. But someone filmed Pat McAfee saying to Cody Rhodes, "Well, the big man's back this week, eh?" And he goes, well, where? Who? What one? Like he didn't know anything. So that makes me think that the Bloodline story is a way to heat up a little bit more. Shock, I'm talking about WWE, and shock, I'm talking about the Bloodline. I think The Rock's going to be back. I think that's the main thing, whether it's Bad Blood, whether it's Monday Night Raw, whether it's SmackDown next week. I think it's time for the Bloodline story to take its new and improved turn.
It's certainly, I think it is needing a bit of a shot in the arm. I've enjoyed the injection of Jacob Fatu into things. He certainly had a better and bigger impact on the Bloodline than Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa have. So I've been excited about that. But if The Rock is on his way back this week, do you think that is a move that's been in the works for a while? Or is it to shit on AEW because they're celebrating 5 years? They're celebrating this new TV deal. Do you think bringing The Rock back into the story or into the headlines is their way of trying to thump it?
I think that would be more likely to be true if it was a Vince McMahon run WWE. I think that's a Vince move. Someone else's, he gets told in his ear by Kevin Dunn or something that this company's doing quite well right now. Fuck it, bring back Rock. Bring back Rock. But with Triple H, the Bloodline, we all know how well worked it is and how it doesn't seem to have had any. Obviously, you can talk about the WrestleMania where they've had to massively pivot, but I don't think this is a pivot. I think the Rock's had this lined up to come back, and whether they've maybe pushed it forward a few weeks, potentially, whether he was always supposed to come back around Survivor Series time to set up a War Games, that's what I would have said. But whether he's come back a week or two early, who knows? Just to sort of dampen the Daniel Bryan sort of rally cry that this is the best company in the world and everything, bring back The Rock, and it's shut down fairly quickly. But I think it is time for The Rock to come back. Solo and Tongaloa and Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. It's been sort of limbo for the last few weeks. We're getting back into the old Cody and someone versus the Bloodline, Randy Orton and someone versus Bloodline, Kevin Owens and someone versus Bloodline. So I think they've drawn out long enough that it's finally time to sort of pull the trigger and really get the story back going. So I think, you could say it was premeditated, or you could say it was a flash in the pan thing. But it's The Rock coming back, whether it's early or late. I'll just be happy to see the final boss back on WWE TV.
Will be good to get him back, and as you alluded to there, we're coming into Survivor Series season. If War Games is they're going to go down, Steve, what would you see the anti-Bloodline team being? Is Rock going to team with Cody to go against Solo and everyone? We're going to get Cody and Roman and The Rock, or is The Rock going to come in as heel on there? How do you see that playing out?
I see it more. I hope they stick with the original idea, at least the fan idea, where it would be actually Roman teaming with Sami Zayn and the Usos. Because I think Cody being too caught in it is almost taking out his kind of diluting his title run a wee bit. I think in amongst all this, we're forgetting Cody's actually still the champion.
Yeah.
And I fear his title run is in danger of being forgotten because of it. So I would prefer it if we get the old bloodline put back together up against with the new bloodline, and maybe have Brock come out during War Games, and then we'll find out the answer whose side he's picking. And I think it would be more interesting if he picks the heel side, because let's be honest, we really like that final boss run leading up to WrestleMania. We would like to see that come back, and he could maybe pivot it in a way that this is his way of becoming the tribal chief, and that he was bullshitting Roman the whole time. He doesn't regard him as a tribal chief. I'm the tribal chief. I'm the man that put the family name on the map, etc., etc. You were just a usurper and all this, and that maybe leads to Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania.
I think that needs to be the end goal. I think we need to get Rock v Roman there, but again, like, where does that leave Cody? You know, Cody's the one that's been involved. As you say, he's been in and out of these bloodline feuds. There seems to be dissension between, or certainly from Kevin Owens' point of view, there seems to be something at work there with Cody. I don't know if they're going to run that back at any point, but it's all very kind of. There's lots of threads that they can take from the bloodline here. But if they are leading the bloodline at War Games, I mean, is Jimmy is he back in contention? Is he fit? I know that Rikishi was looking for the prayers for them.
Well, that happened while we were away. There was that weird tweet Rikishi put out saying pray for Jimmy. So is there maybe health issues with Jimmy just now or something?
I'm going to Comic-Con on Sunday, right? In Edinburgh, and Rikishi's there. So
you're going to ask him
for an autograph. If we can put that in the heat sheet expenses, I'll go up to him and maybe even get kicked out for asking him too many personal questions. But I'm going to ask him who he thinks is the real tribal chief and what the fuck are your tweets all about, mate. Probably get a stink face out of him. Maybe that'll be worth £40.
What if the Kishi's the big man? What if that's who McAfee was referring to? and he's coming just to like smash all their heads together until
We've had
tell
every
them all
other
to get
members
the
of
fuck along.
Bloodline, and they seem to be dropping like flies. So Rikishi's probably the only elder we've got left.
I know.
Is there not talk of Hikuleo coming in it as well?
I think he's NXT bound, isn't he? Or he's certainly been performance centered, whatever that is there. But yeah, it's intriguing. I think if The Rock is coming back, then we're going to be in for a good 5 months until Mania. You know, going through Survivor Series, the Rumble, and everything like that. If we do get, as you say, the final boss, the off is the direction in which you can fuck Rock, then you get more of those kind of promos. I think it's going to be very entertaining. So yeah, I'm interested to see where that goes. But for the purposes of the heat sheet and the front page this week, I think it needs to be we need to be patting AEW on the back and congratulating Tony Khan. So the headline is, if anyone can, Tony Khan can, when it comes to a new TV deal. So that will be a very long-winded and wordy headline on the front page this week. But what about the back page, lads? What has been the best in-ring action of the past week in wrestling? Lewis, we'll come to you first. What's been your favourite match of the past 7 days?
I'm always one for, we've had Bryan Danielson versus Okada, and you've had Ricochet versus Will Ospreay and everything. Matches on paper and probably in any regular wrestling fan's head that would be better, but, I'm all for chaos. And just anything that's just very ADHD, I'm there. So I think I've got to go for Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman in the last Monster Standing match, purely because it wasn't just entertaining, but it was funny as well. For about 3/4 of the match, maybe half the match, Braun Strowman was running around with a torn groin. So he was trying to do these running moves, but he was walking like he'd shit himself, which was fucking very, very amusing to me. But no, it was one of those meaty men slapping meat matches, and it was sort of Godzilla versus King Kong, and it was all going so well up until that final spot where, for any casual fan, that ring break at the end was brilliant. But for any WWE fan who likes to spot nuances and little small things, it didn't go as well as planned. Because basically, they hit the mat, and then about a second later, the ring posts fell. But you didn't get that secondary sort of ring break.
Yeah, you didn't get the bump and then the bump that we've become accustomed to with that spot. I had read earlier on that the kind of higher-ups in WWE weren't too happy with the execution of it. They loved the match. But the execution of it, I mean, it's not quite exploding barbed wire deathmatch levels of apparatus fucking up, but it was still a great spectacle. And as you say, if you're a casual viewer or a non-regular Raw watcher, that probably looked amazing. And I'd imagine that there has been quite a few non-normal casual wrestling viewers over the last wee while because of the Mr. McMahon documentary, so maybe that will have popped folk that have tuned in because of that. But in terms of the match itself, there was a lot of aerial stuff for the two guys being big hefty buggers. There was a lot of like splashes and dives and stuff, which you wouldn't really expect.
It was good.
I noticed it was for me. It was when all the referees and the security guards all came together, and then was it Strowman that came flying to the outside. Like I was one of those guys. I'd been shite myself because you're talking about a guy that weighs. It's got to be. He's got to be 30 stone, isn't he? Potentially coming down on your head. Like that, you'd be shiting yourself. But no, they executed it brilliantly, and I loved it myself. It was it was like it reminds you a bit of the old school, doesn't it? Like the East style when it was like the big guys main eventing, just causing chaos in the main event. And I don't know if you agree with this, right? Do you think it's time to create a super heavyweight title? Like when it just the big boys alone can go for? Because I think both companies are missing a trick here because they've both got a good set of beefy men. And on WWE side, you've got Strowman, Bronson Reed, you've got Obafemi, and
Otis.
Otis, Big E when he's finally back. Like, have them have their own wee division and go for a title. And AEW side, you've got Wardlow, Powerhouse Hobbs, a few others. Aye. So like, Brody King and all them. So like, you like give them some shine, because it's different now. The work rate guys are now the main eventers.
Yeah.
20 years ago it was the other way around.
You could
Now
add
it's them
storylines
getting
to
the
that as
main
well,
event.
Steve.
But the big boys can't be forgotten
You could
about.
add storylines as well to that
Yeah.
with, remember Crash Holly back in the day where he would bring out the scales and claim he was like £500? You could have like R-Truth. You could have R-Truth claiming to be in the main event because he weighed £450 or something. Or you could have him just in backstage segments eating like as much as possible, just like bloated as hell, like trying to get that title. Like,
I know, like Chad Gable, like he's trying to, he'd be trying to like, I'm a £500 and then he would get squashed every match.
Why not the super heavyweight?
Exactly what I'm saying.
The opposite of the speed title.
Yeah. The what would it be called? The meat title.
The meat, and it's just a big steak. It's just a bit, but just the Flintstones, like the big like dinosaur ribs. They carry about that. They need to carry it about like the Andre trophy. Or you make the Andre Battle Royal. You just make that full of the big lads. That could be
that'd be a good one, and like the winner of that could be like their mini Royal Rumble. Like the winner of that faces the super heavyweight champion at Mania,
or the speed champion, and then you get your David v Goliath kind of ones. I like that idea, Steve. I'm on board with that idea. I do like that. But
first time I've ever heard that as well.
Was that Lou? It's a good unique idea. I like it. I think it would work better in WWE than it would in AEW, just because they seem to have the presentation for that kind of thing down a bit better. But no, but big fan of that idea. But yeah, it's probably the only match I've seen this week. Was that one, and I really enjoyed the fun of it. Even my daughter popped for the tsunamis that Bronson Reed was delivering, and then when the ring came crashing down, she popped again for that, and then she popped for a third time when Seth Rollins came out and curb stomped Bronson Reed to give Strowman the win. Now, excuse me, is that allowed? Like, if two guys are trying to beat the 10 count, is it allowed for someone to come in and interfere and stop?
Yeah, I noticed
one
that.
of them from getting up.
I always thought it was like a break, or even in I seen it in the CM Punk Drew McIntyre match as well. You know, when it's the touching the four corners, he hit him with the GTSs. I always thought that broke the.
It's supposed to be consecutive, isn't it?
Aye.
But the traffic lights came on. So that's how we knew that it was all working. Because they can't.
Shit gimmick match, and it's like, what the fuck? Touch four corners and win a match? Fuck off.
You could say the same about fucking pinning someone. Put someone on the ground for 3 seconds up the road.
Aye. What was it?
It should be knockout or submission like UFC.
Aye, or 10 count like Big E used. Was it the 10 count Big E used to do, or was it 5? 5.
Aye.
Should bring that back. That needs to be the super heavyweight stipulation. It's a 5 count, not a 3 count. Let's book it. So yeah, that's a great shout, Lewis, for the back page. Steve, what are you going to counter that with?
Well, I'm going with a much more kind of scientific bout. And Lewis mentioned it earlier, it's got to be Kazuchika Okada versus Bryan Danielson. Both 2 titles are on the line. So Danielson defending the World Championship against Okada, who was defending the Continental Championship. But there was a weird stipulation in place. Only for the first 20 minutes, Okada's title was on the line, because that's the rules. Apparently with the Continental title, it's only online for 20 minutes. So you had a kind of weird dynamic where Okada only needed 20 minutes to defend his title, and that's kind of what he did, because early on in the match he was doing a lot of shithousery. He was time wasting a lot, like going out outside the ring, frustrating Danielson and the referee. Excalibur put it brilliantly. He's taking a page out of Jose Mourinho's book, time wasting, and it worked really well for the story. And because Danielson eventually got the Bushido knee right on the 19th minute, but Okada very wisely rolled out the ring, and then that elapsed the time for the 20 minutes.
See, I know that the referees have got the earpieces and they're able to, like, you know, give cues and stuff for that kind of thing. But I always think, see, trying to do anything to time in a wrestling match, that's a skill in itself.
It's amazing. It's
Granted, that's a skill that I never learned at all. But it's a skill in itself, being able to do and be so. See, even like breaking up a pin. Like if you're in the other side of the ring and you even get caught in the ropes or whatever, then getting over in that amount of time is a craft in itself.
Think how stressful it can be, because you've got about 10 different people at once shouting at you, giving you orders and all this.
No, it's again, it's part of what makes wrestling something that we absolutely adore, and why we talk about it as and when we can on here. In terms of the ending, I've not managed to see it myself. What were the kind of the high spots for you, Steve? For this
high spots where there was a point where Okada gave Danielson a tombstone outside the ring onto a chair, and Danielson also did a brilliant reverse suplex from the top rope onto Okada, and the height they got on it was pretty freakish, because I think Danielson kind of jumped as he was releasing him, because Okada landed right in the middle of the ring. The finish was quite. I'm not going to say it was bad, just a wee bit anticlimactic. Okada was in full control of the match. He just delivered one Rainmaker, and he was just gearing himself up for another one. But then Claudio and Pac both came out opposite sides on the crowd, and Okada kind of looked at both of them saying, "What the fuck are you two doing here?" But then he turned back to set up the Rainmaker again to Danielson, but Danielson countered it and did a backslide pin and won it. So it was a wee bit anticlimactic in that sense, but I think we all knew that was going to be the outcome anyway, because they're not going to change the main event to their pay-per-view last minute.
Yeah.
Because we all know it's going to be Moxley and Danielson.
I think that's interesting, the Danielson ones that were a backslide, because it kind of shows that, just thinking straight off the bat there, from what you're saying there, it kind of shows he's almost getting into desperation mode for winning matches. You gear up for the Busaiku knee, cattle mutilation, all that sort of stuff from him. But if he's winning it with, not quite the most dangerous move in all of wrestling, the schoolboy, if he's winning it with a back. I was getting all confused there, but if he's winning it with a backslide, that's a kind of an opportunist victory as opposed to a methodical victory, which we're used to seeing for Danielson. So that suggests that we're maybe getting into that, having to dig deep because of all his injuries and everything he's been going through since winning the title. So I like that. I like that notch in the story. I'm a big fan of that.
The kind of advancement in the storyline was that Yuta came out to kind of chase off Moxley's crew, and set up a tag team match, Yuta and Danielson against Claudio and Pac next week. And I've got a funny feeling, is Yuta turning heel?
What, joining Claudio and Co?
It's because it's maybe like something's going to happen after that match anyway, and it would be interesting. But at the same time, you don't want to make Danielson look stupid Like, it makes him look too
I think
trustworthy
Wheeler
kind of
Yutas
thing.
maybe
But you
he's
think like,
had the time being the sort of young lion. You know what I mean? He needs to break off
aye,
with like by himself. That's maybe been the problem of. You could say the criticism of someone like Daniel Garcia or Ricky Starks in the past, where they've
aye,
kind of been under the learning tree
too
of,
reliant on
so to speak,
factions.
pardon the pun, of other wrestlers. So they've never really
Aye,
been given a chance to break out by themselves. And I think this will really be the year with, obviously, you're going to get rid of Jericho. You're Kenny Omega. Who knows what's happening with him? Brian Danielson's in his last year. You need to make these um, Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta, MJF is to throw him in there as well. You need to make these guys the new clear faces of AEW, and Jack Perry, Darby Allin, these the
yeah.
new breed. I think 2025 is a
I
year to
think
make them stars.
aye. I think Utah could do well with a if you know if they can put enough faith and trust into him and give enough backing. I think he
Yeah,
could do well as the ROH champion because he's got that kind of ROH background, that he's got the ROH style. Garcia, you know, he seems to have done well at the MGF feud. So I hope maybe, you know, maybe he could be a Okada's next opponent for the Continental title.
Well, there's a lot of ways that could be utilised. I suppose, pun fully intended there. But the last thing I was going to ask on this match, we've obviously got Danielson against Moxley coming up at Wrestle Dream. Do you think with Moxley having this new stable or reinvigorated stable around him, is this the end of Danielson as an in-ring performer?
I don't think about him as at the end as an in-ring performer. I do think Moxie's going over and winning the title role because they're not doing this for nothing. This has obviously got an end goal. It would be a pretty damp squib if it just ends in Danielson pinning Moxley. So I can see Moxley winning the title and having this sort of playing this sort of tyrant role where he's like now going to like try and trim the fat of AEW. Like, so he's going to like go after all the guys in the locker room he thinks are just wasting space and not amounting to everything. Because I think he hinted at that when he attacked Private Party, telling them you've been here 5 years and you've done nothing. And I think he's going to go after others. And then that's going to lead to perhaps somebody like Omega coming back to stand up to him, or something like Samoa Joe, something like that, to come up and kind of challenge and swerve when he comes back as well.
What about yourself, Lou? Do you think Mox is going to be responsible for the Tyrion Danielson?
yeah. I think it's going to try. I think this is going to be used to put Brian Danielson on a more temporary term sort of contract. I hope, more of a part timer. I really am interested to see if Shane McMahon's behind all this. So they've obviously he's had his run-ins with Dean Ambrose. He's had his run-ins with Marina Shafir in the underground. He's had his run-ins with Daniel Bryan in WWE as well. So could this be something for him appearing, or is it just John Moxley's had his fair share of shit in the last couple of years? Is finally time for him to get back to the main event scene? Is this what they're going to do? But yeah, if I was a betting man, which I am, and if there was a bet I could put on for this, I would say John Moxley's going to win it. And the Bryan Danielson title win was more just for that moment, All In, more than anything else.
Yeah, no, it's been a short run so far for Danielson, and if it does end with Moxley, and that's him done, I think Moxley needs to absolutely murder him. I don't think it needs to, I don't think it can be just a clean 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring. It needs to be Danielson leaves in a stretcher and with the oxygen mask and everything. It needs to
gonna
be
be a
an
horror show.
absolute. Yeah, it needs to be an absolute massacre.
Halloween, especially with Halloween coming up.
Yep. And speaking of Halloween, I'm going to give the back page this week to the last Monster Standing match. So, Lewis, you're taking this down. And again, the headline is going to reflect some of the tweets and some of the stuff I've seen about it, which is going to be the greatest Strowman match. Because I think it probably is one of the best matches that he'll have put on in his WWE career, just for pure enjoyment and entertainment, and the fact that he did it with these cock and balls hanging off as well.
I've got images of like Braun Strowman dancing about as PT Barnum singing, "Oh, this is a great show."
Well, see, because again, one of the ways that my head works is the bearded lady in The Greatest Showman just looks like Bronson Reed as well. So it ties in. Everything comes together on that. Right, page 3, lads. Where are we seeing the biggest gossip of the last week, and why should that grace the most titillating page of a newspaper?
I'll just agree with
Steve.
Steve.
We'll come to you first on that one.
Shortly before we came on, I just caught something on Instagram. Apparently, it's not being confirmed, but WWE have decided they're going to make Elimination Chamber an annual international event, and the coming one in kind of late February, early March is slated for the UK, possibly for Birmingham or Manchester. So we could be getting another big show coming to our shows, lads.
That's quite good. Elimination Chamber, bit of a flogged dead horse in my opinion as a pay-per-view, because you get the two on it. Most times you get the men's and the women's. It kind of takes away, much like all of the themed pay-per-views, it kind of takes away from the actual impact to the stipulations and whatnot. But it's one that's going to guarantee some sort of carnage. And if you're getting that kind of carnage in front of a rabid UK crowd, that should come across fairly well.
Yeah, the one thing I would like about seeing the Elimination Chamber is seeing the chamber itself. I can imagine that being kind of awe-inspiring to look
Thing
at.
is, as well, with the Elimination Chamber, the only issue is, can you see fuck all from the crowd? Like Hell in a Cell is bad enough. Elimination Chamber, you know what they say, £3 million of steel and 4 tons of destruction, and what you be able to
Did they not repaint the Hell in a Cell red? Because people were saying that the metallic look was too shiny. It was causing glare off the lights or something like that.
I think it was just a
Sure, I remember reading that at the time.
Make it more toyetic.
Aye, probably.
But the cell that they had on Raw the other night was back to the normal one, back to the old school 2000s one. So maybe the case. But Elimination Chamber coming to the UK. I would go one better than it, Steve. And instead of booking, or have your heavyweight championship and your women's championships in the Hell in a Cell, have your super heavyweight division in a Punjabi prison.
Yeah.
Punjabi prison. Bring that back. Great Khali,
Exactly.
the greatest super heavyweight of all time.
Yeah.
Get him back involved.
Aye, he can present the title at the end and all that.
hold it up right.
Everybody slagged the Punjabi prison match, but I mean, if it was done right, I can see it being a lot of fun. Just get 4 big guys in there and just have them fucking throw each other about
remember being
through bamboo sticks.
9 years old watching that.
Wasn't love?
Yeah, someone is dying in this.
Aye. Exactly.
Yeah.
It just looks so sharp. It looks so jaggy. That's my big fear that somebody was going to get impaled on it. But Elimination Chamber will come back to UK. I'd be all for that. Lewis, what gossip do you think is better than 6 pods of Pandemonium? No, four pods of Pandemonium.
I would say that's
two-star
probably
match.
Just as good, if not better, than anything I'd come up with. But For mine, I'd just say the main event at Bad Blood. I think it's been announced since I thought about this as the sort of Roman Cody match, but should it be Drew versus Punk? What do you guys think for?
I think it should.
It should be, yeah. It should be It's the hottest storyline they've got going. It's been running for months and months. This is the massive payoff to it. And again, I know that your World Championship match should be your main event, but there's been so much put into this match. The two guys have given so much to it that if this is to be the payoff, it needs to go on.
I think it's ridiculous as well. It's going to be like you're saying, a massive culmination of about a year's worth of story. All that is going to be one of the most brutal matches you've ever seen. It finally finishes. CM Punk or Drew McIntyre's hands raised tall. The cage raises, and here comes Nia Jax versus Bayley now. You know what I mean? That's the thing. They say it's going to be on foot. Ridiculous.
Do you think Drew's going to kick the dog?
Oh, if Larry gets involved, then. But again, then if Larry gets involved and Pharaoh's making the save, and then you've got a whole other thing going on there.
Drew's cat comes into it and all this.
But I think it has to end. And in my head, it's like Punk needs to be in white gear. Bring back the long boys for this one. White long boys. It just needs to be blood. I know we've been quite bloodthirsty on this week's episode so far, but this is the one that there needs to be plenty of claret spilled in this one. It's bad blood. And
at least have tax in that involved. They need to make this closely resemble Swerve Hangman as they can. I'm not saying go as far as them. I'm not saying fucking drop each other in cinder blocks, but at least match it in terms of intensity of the hatred and the violence. So get tax involved, get do something with fire,
the way they've named it in the
table,
past,
something like that.
With sort of not wanting to reference blood on WWE, I'm surprised it's not been rehashed, bad red sticky substance.
like not good hemoglobin or something.
Gotta be, don't say it, Cole.
Bad plasma.
What is that?
heated plasma.
No, it's if it is Roman v Cody, I think it's a bust. There's plenty of time for that to headline some other. That'd be a good Rumble headline match. Work towards that, build that up has been the apart from the Rumble match, obviously, but
it's 2 weeks not the anniversary SmackDown, the 25th anniversary SmackDown.
Hopefully,
pass.
I'm sure I heard that because it is around this time of year. SmackDown made its debut in '99, and this would be its 25th year.
Well, it very well could be. But yeah, if there's an anniversary SmackDown, then that's a good place to put Roman v Cody on it as a main event. But I think for this weekend, it has to be Punk and Drew. Has to be. So of those two, I think the Elimination Chamber is going to take the page 3 on there. Just because it's kind of breaking news, I suppose, as we are coming to air, and there's going to be all sorts of speculation as to whether it's going to be Manchester or Birmingham for that. Just I think, obviously it's going to be in an arena, not a stadium.
Well, Manchester, it's the
do you know they need to have it in the big shit house. The big one.
The one that take that was meant to do the big opening of, and it get delayed for 3 months.
Yep. Or the only place I've been in Birmingham is the NEC.
Where they used to shoot gladiators.
Aye. It's where I went to a silent disco hosted by Vernon Kay.
Aye. That's the only time I've been in Birmingham was when was recording Gladiators back in '96.
Class. I think your experience
How'd
there
you
probably
host that?
You're
Silent
going,
disco?
what the fuck? How old are you two?
So it was DJing. It was DJing, but we
Were
all
you
had
getting his voice
headphones
through
on.
the headphones?
Aye, we could hear them tapping away Ian Sugden on his phones, because it was literally like a week later that all that scandal broke. The Ian Sugden Lewis used to be a glamour model in Loaded magazine. Loaded magazine was a softcore, pretty much softcore porno mag back in the early 2000s.
Really, so she wasn't even one of the front cover ones as well. She was like a mid-carder.
Yeah.
It
It was kind of like the Beano with tits. That's pretty much what it is.
Exactly. Lucy Pinder, she was the Hulk Hogan.
She took her vitamins anyway. Anyway, right, let's move on. Let's move on for that. What did I say was getting page 3? Page 3 was Elimination Chamber. Manchester Birmingham. There we go. That'll be the headline or something like that. Right. TV pages to round off this week's heat sheet. We were in unanimous agreement. There's only one wrestling related, but not necessarily wrestling thing that we could recommend for this, and it is the Mr. McMahon Netflix documentary. For on the most part, if you're a wrestling fan and if you listen to us, I'd imagine that you'll have known most, but 90 to 95% of everything that was in it. There was no really new ground covered, but for any casual viewers, it was probably quite a shocking and grim account of the man who revolutionised modern wrestling.
I've got a pal
what are you guys' takes on it?
He's a casual wrestling fan. You know, he comes to the pay-per-views with us. He's coming to Vegas for WrestleMania and that, but he's not in the know with everything. And he said to me, "Oh, did you watch the Vince McMahon documentary?" And I said, "Aye." And I was getting kind of proud. He was like, "I'm on the Owen Hart Owen Hart. I can't believe what happened there." So it's good for the casual viewer, and it is still they paint it in a good way that there are a few bits and bobs that you don't know. You know, even if you know everything about Vince McMahon, it's good to hear people's opinions of him. You know, speaking so openly about Chris Benoit and what Hulk Hogan, and that was my favourite bit when they asked Vince, where's the line drawn between Vince and Mr. McMahon? And he's like, not similar at all. And then it goes to Shane, and they're like, yeah, there's one or two similarities. And it goes to, is it Shawn Michaels? And he's like, yeah, it's kind of half and half. And then Hulk Hogan's like, same person. It's all just fact check, isn't it? It's just after we don't use guns, Brian Pillman. We don't use rape, rapist. All that. It's what you like to do. You would want to do to people every single day. You know, in your head when someone's telling you something, you're like, "You're bullshitting, man. I know you are." Like it just.
Genuinely, that was my day at work today. I can say it safe in the knowledge that he's never going to listen to this. But there's a boy I work with who I'm sure it feels like he's only employed to make the most outlandish statements, and then for me to tell him that he's talking rot. And today was particularly bad for it. Like it was just the absolute like Hoganisms coming out of him was unbearable, absolutely unbearable. But do you think
he could have been the bassist in Metallica?
No, but it was saying that. Oh, what was the one that annoyed me the most? There was a few of them. Joker 2 is going to be shit because Lady Gaga refused to be in it unless it was a musical. It's like, no, Todd Phillips and whoever wrote it made it that before she was cast. It's just like it's stuff like that all the time. Elon Musk is the most important human being that's ever lived. He's done more for the population of the world than anyone in history. And I was like, you have heard of penicillin, haven't you? Like it's just anyway. Enough of that.
He bought this guy.
Yep. Do you think that you mentioned there about the editing, like the fact checking stuff? Do you think that makes the documentary lose a bit of credibility in that they were clear they were
Yeah,
kind of trying to create bias with it?
there was definitely some sanitization going on, and look, it's understandable. Netflix and WWE are just a couple of months away from working together on a weekly basis, so it's understandable that they have to get the relationship off to a good and healthy start. So it's understandable that there was going to be some stuff left out. They've apparently said, the makers of it, that there is as much as 5 hours left on the cutting room floor. A lot of it was because Vince's voice was getting so groggy and
He sounded like
almost
a frog.
inaudible. And I don't think it's just because of the way he sounds. I think he was probably getting emotional. A lot of there was probably stuff a lot of times that shout cut because he was asking questions he did not like, and he was getting angry with them. I'd
Yeah.
imagine that was going on.
Well, I mean, you see some of the clips for some of the interviews that he had where it was kind of like flying off the handle at people. And again, you don't know if that's the Mr. McMahon character coming out or if it was genuine Vince. But it was certainly eye-opening. And I think for someone that's not familiar with either the Mr. McMahon character or what we would know of Vince McMahon, you're looking at an absolute psychopath, sociopath. Just like, and I liked. I know that they tried to kind of pin a lot of it on his relationship with his dad, and then I think it's either the second last or the last episode with the focus on Shane, and Shane kind of fighting for attention off Vince, the same way Vince had to fight off Vince Jr. had to fight for the way off Vince Sr. as well. But can you really apportion as much of the unpleasantness to his upbringing?
I think so. And look, if you grew up in an abusive household, it's going to fuck you up in life. You know, it really turns out well. Does not excuse any of the things that McMahon has done to others in any way, shape or form, but it's clearly that upbringing that he had, because I think he even insinuated when he was only 9 years old his stepdad nearly beat him half to death or something like that. So
Yeah.
of course that seriously affects him, and that trauma will never ever leave you, and it's more than likely you're going to take it into adulthood, and you're going to use that to kind of bitterness and trauma in life. You're going to take that out in others. Probably hence why he turned into such a competitive beast that trampled all his competition, and he's totally upended the wrestling business. Said, "Fuck tradition, I'm doing my way. I'm taking over this whole industry, and there's not a goddamn thing you're going to do to stop me." And that's exactly what he did. And is it any wonder, with that upbringing and that attitude, he's a guy that's very, very seriously considered making a storyline where he impregnated his own daughter.
Aye, I mean that's the kind of thing that I think would shock the non-wrestling fan or the casual viewer.
Well,
It's stuff like that, Katie Vick,
aye.
all that. Even the blowing himself up stuff, and then the fact that they had to cancel that storyline because of the Benoit incident is just crazy. Like the episode 6 is one of the wildest episodes of a TV show I think I've ever seen. Just for the amount of emotional gut punches and ridiculousness that's crammed into that hour and 5 minutes is unreal.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about it for me was like asking others that I've seen it that don't follow wrestling, what their reactions are. And I had pals. Shout out to my pal Sean and Sev. Like they said to me, they didn't really. There wasn't actually anything that shocked them. you know, they did hear of stuff, like, it was just the more recent stuff, the Janelle Grant stuff, that came out of asking, like, who is that? Let's say, was she a wrestler? I was like, no, she was just somebody who worked in the office that he alleged to have had a really indecent relationship with, that he paid
Shut up.
money to do all kinds of nasty stuff and share amongst, like, the wrestlers and office staff and all that. And like, going, what the fuck, man? Like, why do that to a person? Like, it's Vince McMahon. He did it allegedly because he wanted to. That's because that's just the kind of guy he is. That's the power and the perversion he has.
Yeah, and I also found it very telling that at the end of it, they go through all the talking heads saying, what is Vince McMahon's legacy? And none of them could answer it. None of them would say it. Cena, the shite bag, he's like, I'm not the person to answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tony Atlas with his Fred Flintstone fucking shirt. He's just like the greatest wrestling promoter of all time. And that's a fact, right? That is a fact. Regardless of your opinions on McMahon, the good that he's done, the bad that he's done, the evil that he's done, he is the greatest wrestling promoter of all time. There's no denying that.
I mean,
but I just thought it was like the way that nobody was willing to go to bat with the only fact that they could say, apart from Fred Flintstone, Tony Atlas, was incredible.
Yeah, I think, you know, like, he's a complex guy, because, like, there are guys that will always defend him to the hill. Pritchard claiming that he made damn sure that his wife was going to get the best care possible when she was diagnosed with cancer and all this. Like, there you have Vince McMahon, the conundrum that he is, like, this monster, but also will move heaven and earth to, you know, to save and rescue the people that he cares for.
But again, we're getting into dark territory here, but I mean, the amount of money Jimmy Savile raised for charity was class, but it was a deeply evil bastard.
Yeah.
Lewis, is there anything that you think, apart from the Janelle Grant stuff, is there anything that you think wasn't in the documentary that would have made a good episode or a good thread?
So fucking caught me off guard with that one.
I don't know what you could maybe have. If you could have maybe said more about his childhood in terms of like what he actually did, you know, what he was like as a child, that sort of thing, who he was, or just a full episode on him doing both his quads at the Royal Rumble, like a full episode on it.
Yeah.
Would have been perfect.
I'd like to have seen more of the comedy stuff. Like, he's known to being like a good ribber and all that.
But ECW,
he's known to rib the boys.
Durag Vince.
I'd like to have...
Durag Vince would have been good.
Aye. Well, then again,
some of the stuff he's done was wild, but
the woke mob wouldn't have been happy with that.
Yeah, there's a line when it comes to cultural appropriation. I think there wasn't an awful lot of Linda in it, and it would be good to see her perspective on him. I think that would have been quite interesting to see what her thoughts and opinions were on him, because we got Stephanie's view, we got Vince, Shane, but there wasn't an awful lot from Linda on it. And it was also, I think my biggest disappointment was that he hadn't kept his moustache for his main interview bits. The little...
Oh no, but remember this was before. This was 2021. It was all filmed.
Oh, aye, that's right.
Aye, the moustache didn't come until after the TKO.
Sure, if they can take Henry Cavill's moustache away in Superman, they could surely have put one on for Vince McMahon there.
One of my pals actually messaged me, was like, the most shocking thing he did was that fucking tash.
Are they still together?
Well, Linda and Vince, I
think it's estranged. It's been estranged for a few years now.
Yeah, it's a weird one anyway. But the last thing I'll ask on this, would you recommend it, or
Yeah, I think
would you say
anything
don't
that
bother?
is
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
recommend it. Aye. It's more than anything, you'll get an educated history of WWE under Vince, and also a good
Understand a
insight
little
into
bit
the
more.
wrestling business as well. Albeit all the dark and murky shit that goes involved.
Yep, and as much as we said, there was a bit of bias in it. It's a lot more impartial than the Monday Night Wars documentary on
Yeah.
the WWE network. But yeah, that concludes this week's episode of the Heat Sheet. Our front page was graced with the AEW getting their new television deal with a headline, "If anyone can, Tony can." The back page went to the greatest Strowman match, and our page 3 headline was Manchester Chambermingham. So Steve wins on this occasion, and for something that's wrestling related, but not necessarily wrestling, get watching the Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix if you haven't already done so. Lads, an hour and 10 minutes, possibly our shortest 3-man booth
Not bad for us.
that we've ever done. Thank you for coming along. Lewis,
I'll get
Thank you.
a better connection.
Steve, you'll get a better connection next week. Lewis, to make up for the first 10 minutes that you missed, you can provide us with a Bad Blood review
Yep.
if you can. If your dial up in Dundee is destined to work for you. I was trying to think of another D to put in there at the end, but failed. But yeah, guys, thank you very much. If you have made it this far, thanks very much for listening. You'll catch us on. You can go back and listen to all the interviews and stuff that we've done in the past with like Drew McIntyre twice actually. Debbie Keitel. We've got who else? We've got Jake something from TNA on there as well. Hopefully, now that we're going to get back into the swing of things, with the podcast, we'll get some new interviews up and running as well. And yeah, however you enjoy your wrestling over the next wee while, whenever you start to feel the heat, look out for the sheet. Cheerio. Hello, Heatseekers. It's the Heat Sheet.